I trained myself from throwing 78 miles an hour to 96 miles an hour within 16 months. And if I were to start all over again when gaining pitching velocity just seemed impossible, like it would just never work out, here's what I'd tell myself. First, pitching velocity works like this. And you might have seen something similar to this on the internet, but what this basically means is that pitching velocity comes from doing a bunch of work, right? A bunch of work. And then you get the spike in pitching velocity. So to use myself as an example, I started throwing 78 miles an hour and I put in a lot of work, right? This was like couple months worth of work. And I clearly remember after a couple months of work, I did a velo day and I was 76, 77 miles an hour. And I was so discouraged. And I just thought pitching velocity might just not be for me, right? I might not be genetically gifted enough to throw hard. This just might not work out, right? But I was able to push through this. What's the alternative? Am I just going to give up on my career? No, right? And so I kept going past this point of this embarrassment, discouragement, right? Of throwing slower, even though I put in so much work. And then that's when I finally got my spike in pitching velocity and I got to like the mid 80s. Right? 83 to 85, something like that. Because all of this work, right, was building. And then one thing clicked and then I got that velo increase, right? And so that's how pitching velocity happens. Everyone thinks that pitching velocity happens like this. I was a 78 mile an hour guy and I gained 60 miles an hour in 16 months, which means, I might have gained 1 mile an hour every single month, right? And this is what people think is what happens. And this is how you get to 96. But in reality, what happens is it's more like this. So you train, you're 78, right? You're 78, you train. You actually get worse because you're fatiguing, you're doing different mechanical patterns that your body isn't used to. But then something clicks and you get a spike. And then it goes down, work, up. That's how pitching velocity happens. And so what happens is that a lot of people stop here, like in this. When it gets tough and you're throwing slower than you were before because you're trying to make changes and your body isn't used to it yet, everyone stops here because they get discouraged. Or they'll stop working on what they were working on because they're like, this doesn't work. Let's hop onto a new program. Let's work on something else. Maybe this mechanical change wasn't it and I have to do something else, right? But what happens when you do that is that this just resets. You just go right back to here. And you have to go through this either way. And so going back to this graph, 90% of the people are gonna stop here, which is when it gets hard, which is here, right? Everyone stops there. And that's why throwing hard is a special thing. Not many people are actually gonna throw hard because not many people can get past this, right? By default, everyone is in this part. Everyone is in here. Not many people get the spike because they're not willing to push past the hard times of putting in the work and not seeing any results, right? You don't know when it will show up. It could be 1 month, it could be 3, 6, it could even be 1 year until you actually get a spike, right? And that can be really, really difficult. And so the first thing is just keep going. As long as you know what you're doing is the right stuff, then just keep going because inevitably you are going to get that spike and that breakthrough. But notice how I said right stuff, right? And this is my second point, which is you need to be doing the right stuff and putting in the work on the right stuff to actually get this spike. This is a plane. I know it's not the best drawing, but I love this analogy. And so my home is Sydney, Australia. And so when I get on a plane, there's a path to get to Sydney, Australia, right? You need to go in this direction and if you just keep going, you're going to get to Sydney, Australia, right? There's like a predetermined path. But what if the pilots, right, they stray 1 degree to the left or the right? Do you think they'll be close to Sydney, Australia? What they found was that if you stray just 1 degree to the left or the right, you're going to be in a completely different part of the world. Not even within Australia. You're going to be in a completely different place in the world. So that's what happens with pitching development. So if you're doing the right stuff, and let's just say your destination is 90 miles an hour, and you're going through the right path, and there are multiple paths to get there, right? But as long as it is leading here, then you know you're doing the right stuff. And you just know that you can keep pushing until you get this spike. But the problem is when you shift your direction a little bit, because you don't really know what to do, you don't know what the right stuff is. You're doing random drills that you find on YouTube and Instagram, and you're doing bodybuilding type workouts, and there's really no plan or path to get to where you want to do. You're just putting in the work just to put in the work. Then you're straying from your target. And yeah, you might get 1 or 2 miles an hour, right? And eventually you might end up here, but it's going to take 10 times as long, right? Because this is the most efficient path. If you're actually doing the right stuff that's attacking your deficiencies, what you need to work on in the weight room, with your throwing, with your mechanics, then it's just the efficient way to get there, right? But if you're doing random stuff and you're trying to figure it out on your own, then you're veering off from the target. And yeah, you might get here, but are you going to get there in time for you to be able to get recruited? I mean, these days you need to be a junior. To go to professional baseball, you need to be a beast as a junior in college. We don't have a surplus of time with baseball. It's the most competitive time of baseball right now. The younger players are always going to get the best opportunities. And so there is no, oh, I have 2-3 years, I'll just figure it out. No, there has to be urgency with this. But there is no time to be messing around doing random stuff that you see online. You need to find the right stuff that will help you in your unique situation and seek out the right training and guidance in order to be able to have the most efficient path to your goal. And I'm speaking on this because this is a mistake that I made. I would program hop. I remember doing all the generic driveline programs. I would do the top velocity program. Whenever something wouldn't work, I would just switch. Like, oh, it's the program. Oh, it's this new thing I saw on YouTube. Oh, it's this new thing that this guy on YouTube gained 8 miles an hour, so I'll probably gain 8 miles an hour. And it just doesn't work like that. When I actually started to get the right results is when I stuck with one program. I got the right guidance from people who have actually developed people to throw 90 plus miles an hour. And I just stuck with it. And I just put in the work. And then I got a spike. I was 83, 85, and then it resets, right? It resets. But now I'm at 85, and then bang, bang, bang. And then now I'm at 88, and then it's like another reset. And all of a sudden I'm 91, 92. And it just keeps going, right? Because I'm on the right path. I'm doing the right stuff, and I'm pushing through all of this. I'm not expecting 1 mile an hour every month. I started to understand that, okay, I'll put in the work, and then as soon as I start feeling good, I get in an adrenaline environment, I'm deloaded and I'm fresh, that's when I'm gonna get my velo spike. And so that's what I started to understand, and that's where I got the biggest results, right? But for this to really happen, you need the right guidance in the training so that you can actually put the work in. The biggest mistake I see is guys who are doing random stuff and they're putting in the work, and they think they're getting better because, yeah, man, I'm putting in the work, bro. I lift 5 times a week. I throw 5 times a week. I'm doing mobility every day. And I'll ask them, like, what's the goal in the weight room? So, yeah, man, just lift heavy. Okay, so what's your goal with, your throwing program? Like, what's going on with your mechanics? What are you attacking? It's like, yeah, I kind of just long toss every day and that's it. And so do you really feel like that is the right path to get here as efficiently as possible? If there's really no intention or thought behind what you're actually doing, it's just doing something to do something. And so that's when you get this. When you're putting in the work and you say no results. This is the most common with college guys who go to college programs and they have a bad lifting program and the coaches don't even help them. And they're getting stronger, right? Because their college program is putting them on like a football style workout where they're squatting, deadlifting, bench. And they're getting stronger, but they never throw harder. It's because they're not working on what they need to be working on. For a guy who's super strong in college, okay, let's work on force reduction, power, actually, and your mechanics, right? Actually transferring all that strength that you built up to the mat. But they don't do that because they don't know what they don't know. All they know is lifting heavy equals results, right? And lifting heavy equals good. But obviously there's a more efficient path to get to where you want to go, right? And so the third one is that you have to surround yourself with people who have either gone there and done that or have helped people who have gone there and done that. And also just higher level guys as you, bigger guys than you. This is you right now, you're small. So you want to surround yourself with big dogs. And so this is what happened with me when I was throwing slow. I was throwing, I think it was after my first velo spike, I was like mid 80s. And I flew out to Seattle driveline way back in the day when the coaches were top tier, right? It's not the same right now. the coaches that were there at the time are now all pitching coordinators at MLB organizations. So I didn't know this yet, but I was surrounded by elite coaches, right? And they knew how to get to the top 1%. I was also surrounded by multiple minor leaguers, high-level college guys. And I was a guy throwing 85. I was like the worst one in the facility. And so what did that teach me? Well, it taught me what I actually need to do to get to the top 1%, right? When I was here, I was doing random workouts. On a velo day, I would just throw, and if I felt like I was throwing 100%, then that would be good enough. But every one of these guys has a set plan for their unique situation. On a velo day, they're getting their intensity right up, right? They're putting everything that they can possibly put into the throw every pitch. They have all these set routines for every possible thing that'll help them, from mobility, arm care, everything that is specifically designed for them. And no wonder they're at a higher level than I was. It was like random stuff. I didn't even know I had to do certain things. And that's what this taught me. Learning from people who have actually gone there and done that. And you need to raise your standard. Right now, you're watching this, you might think that, throwing every day and lifting 3, 4, 5 times a week and doing a couple mobility drills every once in a while is good enough, and you're putting in hard work, right? But you need to raise your standard, because that's what I thought as well. But you do need to raise your standard. Everyone who's semi-serious about baseball is doing that. That's not going to put you ahead anymore. The things that are going to put you ahead is actually doing the right stuff that's unique to you, right? And surrounding yourself with people who have gone there and done that to learn what it really takes to get to the next level. And this is even more important if you're a younger guy, if you're in high school, because it just conditions your mind. It sets you up for the rest of your career to be like, okay, this is what it takes. Most guys figure this out in college. They get into college, they become a small fish in a big pond, right? Especially at a D1. Everyone's probably going to be just as good as you, if not better than you. And they're like, oh, I need to step my game up. But if you're in high school and you're already exposed to that, and you're already exposed to D1 guys, professional guys, you see how they work and operate, then that reconditions your mind. Okay, this is what it really takes to be a top 1% guy. And that might be the most valuable thing that you can get at an early age. I know gaining pitching velocity can seem overwhelming and impossible at times. But if you're a guy who needs any type of help with it, I'm here for you. You can book a call below. We can talk about your situation, see if I can help and how I might be able to help. Or if you don't want to book a call, you can just send me a message on Instagram and we can talk about your situation. Tell me what you're struggling with and I can help you out.